To the stairs, inshallah, so that we can make more room for the brothers. So the sisters that are sitting right here, I need you to get up and move towards the back of the room, please. As many of you as you can. As many of you as you can, please. Second announcement, and I'll do this very quickly. There are still people that are recording, people that are taking pictures, people that are video recording and audio recording. You are not allowed doing so. Part of you being a student, it is an amana that you don't do this. So please respect that. Do not take pictures, do not record, and inshallah, just take good notes. Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so Bismillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Where were we? Last thing we talked about. Ibrahim alayhi salam was about to be thrown into the fire. No? Wrong program? Where were we? Tell me. Oh, she's about to give the baby milk. In that alone, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ. Just in that part of the ayah, there's an incredible lesson. True believers, the mother of Musaa is not a prophet. Hey child, I need the space to walk around, my friend. And you gotta sit over there. And if you guys talk to each other, I'm gonna be so mad. You guys gonna talk to each other? Good. I'm watching. Okay, you never talk to him. Okay, good. He's your brother, it makes sense. Okay, so in that there's an incredible lesson. You see, Musaa's mother, radiyallahu anha, is not a prophet. But she's in a desperate situation. And we're learning in this ayah that people who truly believe in Allah, even if they're not prophets, when the time comes, Allah will guide them on what to do. That's part of our iman. Actually, another example of that I shared with you in the khutbah. These young guys that were about to be arrested, Ashab al-Kahf, how would they know where to go? And Allah put in their heart, where should they go? To the cave. And where they should lie down. All of it. Allah guided them to that. You see? So Allah will guide you, if you trust Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allah will guide you to the right course of action, especially when it comes to a desperate situation. This is part of our tawakkul in Allah Azza wa Jalla. Okay, anyway. So أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ. But the problem is not solved yet. فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. If you're still scared for him, why would she still be scared for him? Because even if the soldiers passed right by and they missed him, is it possible they'll see him after a month? Is it possible they'll see him in 6 months? Is it possible? How can she hide the baby for an entire year? And if they do see him, they will know this is one of the kids that's supposed to be dead. If it's discovered, there's no way for this kid to survive. Even if he survived the immediate attack, there's still no safety for him. So Allah Azza wa Jalla tells her, if you're still scared for him, here's what you do. فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. Throw him in the river. How many mothers in my audience? Mothers, raise your hand. Okay, so if you're scared for your baby, throw him in a river. Make sense to you? It doesn't make any sense. How in the world is she? I'm really worried about my child. So I decide, it does not make any sense. How in the world are you supposed to make sense of this? And on this note, before I explain this part of the ayah to you, just some personal issues I have. My own observations, I love to stereotype people, it's a problem. And I do notice that there is 3 things that don't go together. Babies, most of the time. Babies, mothers, and water. They don't go together. So if you're giving your baby a bath, you put him in a tub, and you put maybe half an inch of water, and this baby sitting there with his rubber ducky going, come on, ma, listen, what is this? No, it's too deep, beginning or down, beginning. So, don't do it. Okay? And if your family ever goes to a river or a lake or something, and the father grabs the baby, fathers like to take the baby into the water a little bit, splash around a little bit, what does the mother do? No, that's my baby, don't take my baby, you go drown, just give me my baby. Right? Now this mother, obviously terrified of the river. By the way, if you have, like in Texas, because it's a hot state, a lot of people have swimming pools in their backyard. And they have to keep the doors locked all the time because kids, what do? Deep water. I love it. You know, that's what they love to do, so you have to keep them away. There's a constant watch on children and water. There's a constant worry. Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling this woman, radiallahu anha, if you want to see your baby safe, you need to trust me. And He put something in her heart that what you would consider clinically insane, throw him in the river. And by the way, this is season 1, 2, or 3. Who remembers? This is season 3. Some of you remember. What was season 1? Who remembers? No? Yeah, which surah was that? Which surah was that? Season 1. Let me hear the sisters say. What was season 1? Taha, very good. They know more than you guys. Sorry. Sisters 1, brother 0 right now. Sorry. So, sisters told me it's Surah Taha. And by the way, this Surah number 28, season 3 says, throw him in the river. And you might be thinking, it's a kid. How's he going to swim? Has he had practice before? Actually, season 1, Taha, Allah already told us, no, put him in a box and throw the box in the river. And you wouldn't know that until you watched what? Or heard season 1. And for avid fans of any show, when they see a scene in the later session or a review, recap, they say, oh, I remember what happened. Oh, yeah. Allah almost expects us to know what happened before in the Quran. Because it's a continuous story. It's interrelated. It's interlocked with each other. Now, throw him in the river. Now, what is she going to throw in the river again? A box like a basket for vegetables or something, right? Well, what kind of boxes would you have back in the day anyway? So now when she throws this box in the river, has this box been tested for extreme water sports? Is it guaranteed that this box will float? Is it guaranteed that it won't flip over? After all, it's not calm water, it's a river. Is it guaranteed that it won't hit a rock? Are these guarantees? No. But she puts him in the river, and he needs to throw, to drop, not just gently, but to literally throw, cast into a river. Now, once a mother does that with her child, will she feel fear? Yeah. Allah says immediately to this woman, وَلَا تَخَافِي, don't be afraid. وَلَا تَحْزَنِي, and don't feel sad. In other words, if the basket doesn't drown, and it keeps floating, and it goes so far you can't even see it anymore, don't cry. Don't be sad. How in the world is this mother supposed to control her feelings? I've seen my wife, sometimes, I do cruel exercises with my family. Like, for example, when we will take, one of the kids, nowadays 4 girls are going to school, 1 kid's in the Montessori, so we only have 1 left, Iman's at home. So we'll go to the grocery store sometime, and Iman's got some trouble issues, so she'll stand behind her mother. Not next to her, behind her. Hold her jilbab. And the wife will go, Iman, and she'll stay quiet. Iman, Iman. And this kid stays behind her the entire time. Because she's entertained by it. And I'm watching and I still don't say anything. I just kind of let it happen a little bit. But the thing is, when a mother doesn't know what's going on with her child, even for 10 seconds, she can go psycho. It doesn't take long for a mother to completely lose it. In the middle of a mall, in a grocery store, in a parking lot, in a masjid. Happens, doesn't it? And now this woman is watching her baby go away in a river, and she's not supposed to feel any emotion. What Allah Azza wa Jalla is teaching us is something remarkable. When it comes to trusting Allah, Allah will give you emotional strength that no medication and no therapy can give you. It is divine intervention. Allah will make your heart strong enough to be able to handle even the craziest situation. And you'll be able to do it. You thought you don't have the emotional strength or the psychological strength to be able to do it, but Allah will give it to you at the right time. At the right time, you'll say, I don't know what came over me, and I can tell you what came over you. The gift of Allah, Rabtul Qalb from Allah. Allah ties your heart and you're able to do what was otherwise impossible. I argue for a mother to throw her baby in a river is impossible. It is impossible. And the only way she can do it is if Allah can give her unnatural strength in her heart. This is unnatural strength. This is not found in the human heart. It had to come from Allah. That is why Allah says, أَوْحَيْنَا إلى أم موسى أن أرضعيه فإذا خفت عليه فألقيه في اليم ولا تخافي ولا تحزني. Now, by the way, baby's gone. Her neighbor comes over and says, is everything okay? Where's baby Musaa? And she says, I'm not afraid, I'm not worried. I wanted him to be safe, so I threw him in the river. the neighbor going to think? This poor woman lost her mind. She was so shocked and she was so overwhelmed by the crazy situation that she lost her sense of reality. She's become delusional. She's become schizophrenic, and she threw her child in the river, and she thinks that's what God wanted her to do. I feel bad for this woman. She should be admitted into a psychiatric hospital. What am I trying to tell you? That for someone who does not believe in Allah, the level of trust we have in Allah, you know what it looks like to them? It looks like insanity to them. I'm not talking about a workout program. It looks crazy to them. That's what it is to them. That's the level of trust we have to have in Allah. Is she a prophet? No. So Allah is teaching us what kind of trust is expected from the average believer in Allah, especially when it comes to difficult times. Then Allah tells her something even more incredible. Inna radduhu ilayki, no doubt about it, we will bring it back to you. Allah put a feeling in this woman's heart that the child will be coming back. The mother and the child will be reunited. Now I'm asking myself, I don't see any propeller jets at the end of that basket that are going to push upriver. The basket only goes one way, the direction of the river. How in the world are they going to be reunited again? By the way, when the basket goes down, it passes through what? The city. And after the city, what? The palace. And the palace is the place that issued the order to kill all the babies to begin with. So if you're afraid of the attack, you're heading down the mouth of the cannon. You're heading down to where the attack began. That's what Allah Azza wa Jalla said. And He says, I'll guarantee He'll come back to you. I got you. I'll bring it back to you. وَجَعِلُوهُ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ, and we'll make sure he gets delivered. That's how I like to translate al-mursal here, the one who gets sent. Maybe not necessarily in the meaning of prophet, or even though some mufassirun have said that, but actually Allah says, I'll make sure he gets sent where he needs to be sent. And what is that? He's going to end up at the palace. But Allah didn't tell Musaa's mother that it'll be the palace because she would panic again. So Allah just said, he'll get delivered. Don't worry about the address, that's on a need-to-know basis. He'll just be from the mursaleen, from those who are sent. Now the basket is going down the river, and the camera in the story is following the basket. And in the next ayah, we find the destination of this basket. فَالْتَقَطَهُ آلُ فِرْعَوْنَ. The people of Fir'aun got a hold of him. The family of Fir'aun got a hold of him. Now when they pick up this child, the soldier picks up the child, and the queen sees it and says, what is that? Show me this basket over here. And she opens it, and there's a baby inside. She picks it up. This baby's skin color is not like the Egyptians. This baby's skin color is like the people of Israel. So as soon as you see the baby, you know he's not one of the Egyptian babies. Which means he's supposed to be a baby that is what? That is killed. And she's a queen, which means she has security guards around her. So she's not the only one who sees him. Who else sees him? The guards. And the guards are ordered to do what? Kill the baby. And they say to the lady, ma'am, I think, can we take the baby? Because we need to, excuse me, Mrs. Queen. And she says, step off, know your place. I'm keeping this baby. But the problem, this is the problem you need to understand. This is kind of a heavy part of the story, but I need you to pay attention to this, because everything else I tell you tonight depends on this, and it's not much talked about. You need to understand something. The Israelites, Banu Israel, were the slave race. Who's the king of the land? Fir'aun. And Fir'aun has given the order to kill the baby boys. Now one baby boy has survived, yes? And this baby boy didn't just survive. He has now entered the most secure building in all of Egypt. He has bypassed the entire Egyptian military and is now inside the White House of the time. And is in the hands of the First Lady. You understand? This is supposed to be the most protected woman of all of Egypt, and she, a baby, was able to bypass all of this security and is now in her hands. Who looks bad? Who's in trouble when that happens? The security guards. And who's going to be mad at them? Pharaoh's going to be mad at them. Now, when security guards, when you are in trouble with your boss, then you are afraid of your boss, but you hate the guy who got you in trouble. Right? So from the very first day, who hates Musaa alayhi salam? No, not Pharaoh. The security guards. Every time they see this man's face, this child, they are reminded of their failure. Oh, this is such an embarrassment. They just look bad in front of the boss. You see what I'm saying to you? Here's the other thing. I keep saying it. The Israelites were what kind of race? Slave race. So when they usually see a man of that color, how do they treat him? They treat him like garbage. But Musaa, we will learn later on, Musaa will be raised like what? A prince. And when a prince walks into the castle, the security guard holds the door open and says, "How are you, sir? Good morning, sir. Please come in. How was your day, sir?" Right? And the security guard is from the master race, and the prince is from the slave race. Do you think it burns the security guard every time he holds the door open? Oh, they hate his guts, man. They hate his guts. Because it's a class society. You know, in a class society, people from an upper class, they look at people from a lower class with hatred. And I can tell you, many Muslim countries in the world today, it hurts my heart to say this, many Muslim countries in the world today are a class society. I come from one. I come from Pakistan. It's a class society. When you go to a really expensive restaurant, which in Pakistan is McDonald's, doesn't make any sense, but anyway, it is. When you go to a really expensive restaurant and sit there with your wealthy family and some truck driver's family sits next to you because they just, you know, they came into some money, they inherited something, and they're sitting next to you in their dirty shalwar kameezes, and they're like, you know, they're busting out the Punjabi, and you're trying to pretend that you speak a lot of English. You know that, you're doing that? And you look at them and you're like, "Ye log kahan se aa gaye? Kaise log aajkal McDonald's aa jate hain?" I was in Arabic, sorry. You know, what kind of people are they letting in McDonald's nowadays? It's a respectable place. You know? I don't want to be seen next to this lower class. You know, it's riffraff. So these guys, these military from Fir'aun's time, they hate Musaa alayhi salam. So now understand this ayah. The people of Fir'aun got a hold of him so he could be an enemy to them. So from day one, they see him as an enemy, even though they can't touch him. وَحَزَنًا, and he could be a source of grief for them. Man, every time the security guard holds the door open, he's like, "Oh, good morning, sir." You know, he can't stand it. I know, baby, I know. It's pretty intense. And baby got hurt, it's okay. I'm trying to get a little better. By the way, I have no problem with babies crying. I personally, again, I can't even hear them. Like that guy. This is pretty interesting, because we just talked about Musaa alayhi salam crying. And he's like, "Let me show you how that works." So you got a visual. You know. So may Allah make him feel better. Inshallah. And the moms that came here with their children, I respect you and I admire you. And the fact that you brought kids out for a program that starts at 7 p.m. is very difficult. It disrupts their nap time, it disrupts their dinner time. You're going to have to make some pretty disturbing bathroom breaks, I know. And, you know, so much to the bathroom, so inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And then, you know, so there's a lot to go through, and our mothers do it just because they want maybe their child will hear something from Quran, or some barakah will come into their lives. So I make dua for you and the struggle you put up with. And the husbands here that aren't doing anything, I mean, I feel your pain, bro. It's all right. So if you're sitting next to a child or a mom whose child is making some noise, and you're one of those aunties that has professionally worked on her look of death, you know the look. You know the look. You give it to your husband every day. So please refrain from giving them a look, because, like, what kind of children? They even cry. What do you want children to do? Write a PhD thesis? I don't understand. That's what kids do. Anyway, so it's okay. It's a blessing to have kids in the masjid. It's okay. Put up with a little bit of noise. It's all right. You know, maybe make dua that these kids are the ulama of tomorrow, the leaders of our community, inshallah. Okay, so where were we? I forgot to. All the guards. So Allah says, "Inna Fir'auna wa Hamana wa junudahuma kanu khati'in." Fir'aun, Haman, and their armies were making a huge mistake. What is their huge mistake? They let the boy live. How did they let the boy live? We'll learn in the next ayah. وَقَالَتِ امْرَأَةُ فِرْعَوْنَ. The wife of the Pharaoh comes up. Now the queen picked him up. Does the queen have power, by the way? Actually, no. She has power over the guards, but who's she terrified of? Fir'aun. Actually, in the Quran, she even asks Allah to rescue her from Fir'aun. وَنَجِّنِي مِنْ فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِهِ. And amal is important here, because the things he does could include his evil deeds, or it could be the abuse he does to her. What he does to her, it's possible. There's an ihtimal in the ayah. So she's terrified of Fir'aun, but now she's got this baby in her arms. And what does she do? This is one of those years when the military is busy killing. So the White House or the Oval Office of the time is busy. Generals are discussing strategy and how things are going and whatever, or is there any uprising among the Israelites or whatever. It's like an intense time. So you don't allow the women inside the Oval Office at the time, because the queen is just a ceremonial figure. She doesn't actually have political power. But she grabs this baby. When the security guards asked her for the baby, she said, no, step off. I'm going to talk to my husband. So she walks into the office of the king of Fir'aun. وَقَالَتْ إِمْرَأَةُ فِرْعَوْنَ قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ لِي. And the first thing she walked in and said, oh, it's amazing. She walked in and said, he's so cute. قُرَّةُ عَيْن means many things. And one of the things, the word قُرَّة comes from قَرَار, which means to stay. قُرَّةُ عَيْن means my eyes stay on him. I can't even take my eyes off of him. That's one of the meanings of قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ لِي. This woman did not walk into the meeting saying, hey, Fir'aun, kafir, I like this baby. I'm keeping this baby. You are the reason for my depression. At least give me some escape from my depression. I need to keep this child. She did not start like that. And in this ayah, we are learning, or women are learning, how to negotiate with difficult husbands. I'm not saying your husband is Fir'aun. Don't raise your hand. Put your hand up. But if your husband's always in a bad mood, how do you negotiate with him? Well, cute babies help. You know, our husbands are biased. They're not fair all the time, right? So the husbands, if you have 3 kids, 4 kids, like at least one of them he thinks is cute. And the other one, he sees him, he gets in a worse mood. You know which one. You should know. You should be smart enough to know which one. I'm not saying it's fair, it's just how it is. So if you want to ask your husband for something, take the cute one and put him in his lap first. And then ask for something. Okay? This is how you do things. This is how you ask, and some of you have very difficult husbands, like, board members at the masjid. I'm kidding. Totally kidding. That slipped. I don't know if board members at this masjid. But board members are associated with a bad mood usually. Masjid meetings you don't come out of them happy. And when you're not happy, you go home and you don't really exactly add to the happiness in your home. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, so you come home, the husband comes home and she says to him, look at, I can't take my eyes off of him. But the genius of this woman, radiallahu anha, she turns the baby around and says, walak. Why don't you look at him? He's so cute. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. Fir'aun. Hey, Fir'aun. Hey, Fir'aun. Look at him. Look at him. I said, I don't want to look. I don't want to look. And he looks at him. And when he looks at him, Allah does something even to the black heart of Fir'aun. And we learned about that in season 1. What is season 1? وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ حَبَّةً مِّنِّي. I cast onto you a special love that comes from me. So a man who is willing to kill hundreds of thousands of innocent people looks at this one baby and his heart melts. And this woman is so smart, she looks at Fir'aun and she can tell that his face has changed. He doesn't look like his usual evil self. There's a smile in there somewhere. She notices it, and when she notices it, she says, this is the right time to ask. So she says, لَا تَقْتُلُوهُ. Don't kill him. But Fir'aun is still lost in the baby. He's still lost in the baby. So this woman says, he's still lost. And if he's still lost, it's time to ask for some more stuff. You want to ask your husband stuff? Put a cute baby in his lap? By the way, I was thinking of buying a few new shoes. And I was thinking of visiting my mother. And I was thinking of, not cooking for the next 4 days. And he will not know what you said. He'll just go, You can get everything out of him. You have to be smart about this. So she says, La taqtuluhu, don't kill him. And he doesn't say anything. So she figures he didn't say anything, I can add some more. So she says, Asa an yanfa'ana. Maybe he could be good for us. Maybe he could benefit us. He doesn't say anything. So is she going to stop there? No, she says, let me throw in some more. Or maybe we could adopt him as our own. The conversation began with, please don't murder this baby, to let's make him our own baby. The negotiation process here is incredible, all because this woman understands psychology. She understands you look at the facial expression of someone before you ask them for something, and you soften them up. She softened them up by, even Fir'aun can be softened by a baby. You see? This surah, by the way, the reason I chose it is because I have 4 daughters, and this surah has many amazing women in it. We've already come across a couple. Who have we come across? Musaa alayhi salam's mother, and who else? The wife of Fir'aun. They're both highly intelligent, incredible people. And even more are coming up. Okay? So now, عَسَىٰ أَنْ يَنْفَعَنَا وَنَتَّخِذَهُ وَلَدًا وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They have no clue what they just signed up for. They have no idea what's going to happen. They don't know this is all part of Allah's plan. Fir'aun finding the baby cute and saying, okay, fine, you can keep him. That little okay, fine was the reason the empire fell. He didn't even know. They had no clue. وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. Most people don't even know. You know, they call it the butterfly effect. We call it the qadr of Allah. You know, it could be the smallest decision. And we don't know how it's going to impact world events. World events, literally. You know, just that one call he made. Now, this seems to be the life of Musaa alayhi salam is safe. He's in the castle. But one problem is solved, and another problem still remains unopened, or unresolved, which is the mother of Musaa alayhi salam was able to let the baby go. And she was calm at the time, but how long can she maintain her calmness? Eventually, will the sadness and the shock of losing her baby settle in? Yeah. What happened to my child? So now the camera, which is in the castle right now, comes back all the way into the ghetto, into the hut, and now we're learning something about Musaa's mother again. فَأَصْبَحَ فُؤَادُ أُمِّ مُوسَى فَارِغًا. Musaa's mother's heart was void, emptied out of all emotion. She became emotionally paralyzed, psychologically stunned. You know when someone goes through trauma, they become stunned, like they don't blink, and they don't talk, and they don't eat? When they hear traumatic news, that's what she's going through. إِن كَادَتْ لَتُبْدِي بِهِ. It almost came to the point where she came out of the house exposing her secret. In other words, she almost ran after the basket saying, my baby, what have I done? And then Allah says, لَوْلَا أَرَّبَطْنَا عَلَىٰ قَلْبِهَا. Had we not tied her heart together, kept it together from falling apart, had Allah not given her emotional strength, لِتَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, so she could be from those who truly believe. One of the most remarkable ayat, especially for people in the counseling profession, is this ayah. Why? Because in this ayah we are learning that Allah Azza wa Jal has the power to heal people that have gone through traumatic experiences. And He can strengthen their heart. Sometimes people say, my heart is scarred. I hate my mother-in-law. I hate my daughter-in-law. I hate my father. I hate my mother. People say these kinds of things. I will never forgive my brother. And if there's a scar, it will never heal. And in this ayah, Allah is saying there's no scar that will never heal. Allah can keep a entire heart together. That is up to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Yes, on your own, the scar will never heal. But Allah has the power to heal the heart. Allah has that power. And He gave that power to Musaa's mother. And was she a prophet? No, which means Allah does that for believers. That's not restricted only to prophets. Allah does that kind of healing for believers, even if they're going through a shocking, traumatic situation. I'm about to give you, what time did we start up again? Do you remember? I don't remember. 7:55. We're going to take 5 more minutes. Then I'll give you your next break. It's the guy's turn. But in these 5 minutes, I want to tell you, before we're about to get into parenting, the next ayah is about parenting. So I want to leave you with a stereotype again that I like to do of parents. In my travels in the Muslim community, I have observed, at least in America, I have observed 3 kinds of parents. Desi parents, Arab parents, and all-American parents. Now, Desi parents and all-American parents and Arab parents are very different from each other. Very different from each other. So I want to describe to you how different their parenting styles are. Because the three moms, one Desi mom, one Arab mom, and all-American mom, they're sitting together in the park, and their 3-year-old boys are playing in the park. So the Arab kid, Palestinian of course, goes up, you know, there's the little kid slide and there's the big kid slide. وَلَكِنَّهُ فَلَسْطِيني. So he goes to the big kid slide. And he goes to the top of the slide. And what are you supposed slide down. But to this Palestinian child, when you get to the top, there's a multiple choice question. Slide or dive? Slide or dive? And of course he makes the right call, and he dives. He dives and sinks into the sand. The mother is sitting on the bench eating ice cream and watching him, and she continues to eat ice cream and watch him. And the kid gets up and, that was fun, let's do that again. It does. This is why the Arab kid is built like a tank. Now, the DC kid decides that the big slide is too much for him. He will try the little kid slide. And he goes one step on the little kid slide. And his mother throws the ice cream in the air and runs after him and grabs him. Maybe a Jim Jordan, I'm thinking, she grabs him, and this is why your child will probably be a programmer or an accountant. This is also why your child, by the time he's 30 to 35 years old, will look like a snake that swallowed a goat. What that means is skinny, thanks to you, mother, at the playground, not allowing him to experience life. Any parents left? Oh, they're all arrogant parents. So little Timothy decides he wants to go up the slide. But he only took 2 steps before he slipped and fell down. And his mother, who was reading the Wall Street Journal on the bench, finished reading her article as he sat holding his shin going, and she walked over slowly to him and kneeled over and says, Timothy, did you get hurt? Yes. You want to talk about it? That's the different kinds of parenting. But this actually has some pretty amazing lessons on parenting that are coming. How many 9 to 12-year-old girls in our audience? 9 to 12-year-old girls. I see 1, 2, 3, hold them upstairs. Can't see a few hands. Okay. I'm going to be picking on you after the break. Your turn is coming. Yes, inshallah. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. Brothers have 5 minutes right around here. No photos. No photos. Okay.
Is going to be a break for Maghrib. So for those of you that need to make wudu, start making wudu now because the bathrooms are going to be crowded during the next break. So the next break will be for Salat al-Maghrib. Start making wudu from now if you need to make wudu.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I would like to start now from Musaa's mother is about to be, she was completely emotionally paralyzed, do you remember? Can't find her child anymore, he's gone down the river, she doesn't know what happened to him. And now Allah tells us, وَقَالَتْ لِأُخْتِهِ قُصِّيهِ. She said to her, his sister, whose sister? Musaa's sister, follow him. قُصِّيهِ. Now this is interesting, because first and foremost, try to understand. When a little girl, Musaa's sister, when she follows him, is it guaranteed that the baby will be okay? No, and she knows the baby's heading towards the palace. There's no way that the girl can interfere, but she realized something. She trusts Allah, but trusting Allah only works when you do whatever you can at least. She cannot save her baby, but at the very, very least, she can send her child to keep an eye on him. That's all. She can't do much more. She does not know if that will work or not. But all she has right now is her daughter, so she sends her out. The lesson is important here. The lesson is, you don't get to say, Allah is not providing me a job, and you're not even trying. You don't get to say that. You have to trust Allah, but Allah's trust only works when you do everything that you can. Because once you do everything you can, then Allah makes things happen. It's not because of your efforts, it's because Allah made it happen. But Allah does not give the gift of making things happen until He sees some effort from you. It's a two-part equation. So a lot of people don't understand these two parts. Some people say, I just trust Allah, I don't have to do anything. Some people think, I can do everything, I don't need Allah. Both extremes. The balance between those two is you at least do whatever you can, and you leave the rest to Allah Azza wa Jalla. And you watch Allah do what He does. But you at least get to say, I did everything within my power. So now, this lady, the mother of Musaa, she's at the home, and she is looking at her daughter, and she says, follow him. And she's a young girl, maybe 8, 9, or 12 years old. It's a young girl. And she says, go follow him. Now she's a 12-year-old girl, or 10-year-old girl. And of course, I have girls that age. And you know when you ask girls to do something, they do it right away, right? Fatima, dinner's ready. Come downstairs. Fatima? Fatima? Fatima. Don't make me come upstairs, Fatima. Fatima, it's breakfast time already. You still haven't come down for dinner. The mother has to update Fatima's Facebook status, FaceTime her to come back downstairs. And after 20 calls, Fatima walks downstairs slowly. And mother says, I was calling you so much, you don't hear anything? And she said, I didn't know you were calling me. I didn't do anything. You just get mad at me for no reason. You're just always angry at me. That same Fatima, sorry Fatima, that same Fatima, if her friend comes over, or friend calls mom, Auntie, can I speak to Fatima? Fatima from the other end of the house will come running. She had heard it. And she said, is my friend on the phone? My friend on the phone? Can I talk to Zainab? Can I talk to Zainab? Same way, all of a sudden her hearing gets fixed. When you tell her about homework, when you tell her about dinner, when you tell her about coming downstairs or cleaning her room, she can't hear anything. The same, similarly, when you tell children something to do, you have to tell them over again, and maybe, if there's a miraculous gift from Allah, they might do it. Right? Didn't I tell you to pick up your shoes? How many times do I have to tell you to move your socks from there? Why do you always leave your plate like that? You have these conversations at home or no? Oh man. Oh man. So many Fatimas in the house. I tell you what happens in this house. This girl is sitting at home, the mother says about her brother, Qussi, go follow him. Follow. That's all the mother said, follow him. She didn't say anything else. And this girl does not turn around and say, should I wear my pink hijab or my purple hijab? No, I have to go right now. Can I just finish this game? Just one little thing I have left. I was finishing coloring. I just a little bit color left and I can go, Mom, do I have to? Can I go tomorrow? Nothing. This girl just goes. She just does it. And how how many times in the Quran did the mother have to tell the daughter to do something? Once. And did the mother give up? And now let's pick on the mothers for a little bit. Our mothers have a tendency to give so many instructions and micromanage every little thing. Why are you sitting like that? Why are you eating like that? Don't hold the spoon like that. What are you smiling about? What are you looking at? Why is your one eye going this way and the other one going that way? Why is your hijab always not right? Why are you wearing those socks? Why are you standing? Why are you sitting? Why are you lying down? Why are you carrying your book bag that way? Why are you sitting like, oh my God, leave it alone, mother. You know what happens to your daughters when you give them too many instructions? They stop listening to you altogether. And you know when you know that the daughter has cut herself off from the mother? When she rolls her eyes when you tell her to do something. Why are you sitting like that? She rolls them so much they could pop out of her socket. You know, just roll down the house. That's how, if she could roll them, she would. You know? And part of the reason is our parents, sometimes they over-control and they give too many instructions. The lesson in this ayah is very beautiful. We have to teach our children to follow one instruction and do it. And the way to do that is to keep doing it over and over again. Finish your food one time. And they didn't finish it? Okay, tomorrow you're not getting dinner. It's fine. We don't have to have a discussion about this. We don't have to discuss it. I don't have to punish you, nothing. You just didn't finish your food, so I'll give you the same food to you tomorrow. That's fine. And you set certain guidelines, and you know over time, children learn to respect the rules. Rules are far more important than actual talk. You don't have to punish your kids, you just have to set clear guidelines. The other important thing is you have to trust your children's judgment sometimes. It's okay if they didn't wear the socks you were hoping they would wear. It's okay if she picked a different kind of hijab than the one you wanted her to wear at the party. It's okay, let her make her choices sometimes. It's alright. Pick your battles. Because you know when the mother sent her out to see, she sent her out, but she didn't tell her, make sure you keep an eye on him, don't talk to any strangers, make sure you wear the rugged boots because you're going to be by the water side, make sure when you come, by the way, when you go down there, if you get a chance to say and do say, she didn't say anything. Why? Because she knows her daughter is smart enough to figure the rest of it out. Just follow him. Then the really interesting thing I found about this ayah, qussihi, one of the most interesting things, qassa in Arabic is different from tabi'a or ittaba'a. To follow. Why use qassa? Qassa actually means literally to follow step by step by step. So follow your brother step by step. That is physically impossible. Why? You can't follow someone step by step in a river. That's impossible. And girls, you know, they love picking out mistakes in what you say. So the girl doesn't turn around and say, Mom, don't you mean like ittabi'i? Like, see, is kind of like impossible? Just can't really do it? Like, it's like, what do you mean like qussihi? She doesn't do it, does she? Gotcha, Mom, I understand. Follow him as though you were following him step by step. She figured it out herself. Arsil hakiman wala tusih, the Arabic expression says. Send a wise person, send a smart person to do your job, and don't give them too many instructions. I love that expression. You know what that means? When you tell someone to do something, pick a smart person. And if you do pick a smart person, don't give them too many instructions because you're insulting their intelligence. And if you pick a dumb person to do your job, then you have to give them too many instructions, but they won't remember anything because they're dumb. So send a smart person to do your job and don't overburden them with instructions. Trust their intelligence. So this girl is going to go, I'm a fan of this girl. One day, by Allah's permission and His mercy, when we meet in Jannah, I want this girl's autograph, seriously. She is smart. She goes out there, Allah says, فَبَصُرَتْ بِهِ, she kept an eye on him. عَنْ جُنُبٍ, from the side. What that also means is she didn't make direct eye contact, like from the side of her eye, she's looking at him. So she doesn't let other people know that she's watching the basket. She doesn't want to call attention to the basket. وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ, and the people around, they had no idea what she was doing. She acts like she's skippy-doodling around on the banks of the river, just a little girl walking around, but she's actually on a covert mission for her brother. But she can only follow him so much, because the basket ends up where? So it's so awesome how the story began in the hut, the camera took us to the palace, then it brought us back into the hut, and now through the girl following her brother, it brought us back into the palace again. This is camera work in the ayat. It's just follow the imagery moving, you know? So now he's in the castle, so the girl's outside. She's like, well, I did what I could. See you, Musaa. Nope, she stays. Did her mother tell her to stay? Did she figure that out herself? I like this girl. She can figure things out for herself. She knows how to think. We have to raise children that can think for themselves, especially in a society like America and Canada and England and Australia. If we don't raise children that can think for themselves, we are not always going to be there. They're going to have to learn to make their own decisions. We have to encourage independent, smart decision-making. And part of that is children making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. That is part of growing up. This girl stays outside. Now, what's going on inside? Let's go back inside the castle again. وَحَرَّمْنَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَرَاضِعَ مِنْ قَبْلِ. We had made the milk of other women haram on him from before. Who are we talking about now? Musaa alayhi salam. What in the world does that mean? The milk of other women was made haram on him. What it means is when he drank his mother's milk. Remember at the beginning? When he drank his mom's milk, Allah Azza wa Jal revealed on the tongue of Musaa, this is the only brand halal for you. If you don't taste this, throw it up. You can't have it. So he recognizes the taste of his mother's milk. So when they try to, he just came on a boat trip, and the queen has him. After a couple of hours, he gets hungry again and starts crying. When he starts crying, they try to give him water, he throws it up. They try to give him milk, he throws it up. They get other wet nurses to try to feed him, he throws it up. He's not drinking anything. If you don't give him food in the next couple of hours, what could happen? He could die. So there's a state of emergency inside the palace, and the queen says, go find me someone to feed him. If you can, go find me anybody, just go out there. So like a storm of women run out of the castle desperately because they've been told by the queen to find someone. And who's outside playing tic-tac-toe? The sister. And this sister, man, does she know how to make a sale? She's got a PhD in marketing, this girl. She goes to them and she goes, فقالت, she said, هل أدلكم على أهل بيت يكفلونه لكم؟ العرب منكم خاصة. انتبهوا إلى النكرة على بيت ليست معرفة. كأنها لا تعرف البيت. It's incredible, man. The baitin has a tanween on baitin. That's how we read it. أهل بيت يكفلونه لكم. You know what that means? She says, I might be able to give you directions to some house. I think there's some family in some house over there somewhere that are pretty good at taking care of babies. Which house is she talking about? Her own house. But she talks about it like she don't even know where it is. I think I remember, I think it's left over here. That way, you know. They're pretty good with babies. And they're going to be really good for him. If you're looking for baby caretakers, I know this family, I think I remember where they live. And she directs them to her own house. She doesn't say, by the way, that's like my brother, and my mom like them in a river, and I can take my mom. She doesn't do that. You know girls who don't know how to control their tongue? This girl does. She knows what to say. A lot of girls, they just say stuff and then say, sorry, I didn't mean it. I just said it. Yeah. Be Musaa's sister, girls. Learn what to say and how to say it. She's smart. She watches what she says. So now, فَرَدَدْنَاهُ إِلَىٰ أُمِّهِ. So we returned him to his mom. Next thing you know, mom is brought in. She tries to feed the baby milk. Does he drink it? He drinks it. So the mother immediately gets a green card. She gets immigration. She gets immigration. And she says, I can't live here. If I live here, I have to sponsor my whole family. So her entire family gets sponsored, political asylum. And they are now living inside the palace. In the beginning of the story, this woman was terrified that her baby would be killed. Now she lives in the safest building in Egypt with her entire family. There's not a safer place in all of Egypt she can be. That is when Allah makes your plan. That is when Allah makes your plan. Nobody else could have made that plan. Nobody could have said, by the way, here's the plan. Throw your kid in the river and then send your girl up. I'll work the rest out. Nobody could figure that out. That is Allah's plan. But you know what? For Allah's plan to work, what do you have to do? You have to do your part. You have to send your daughter out. Right? If she never sent her daughter out, would the plan work? No. The plan would have been there. You just didn't do your part. Allah has the plan. But if you don't do your part, you don't get to blame Allah. You see? So now they did their part, and Allah Azza wa Jalla did the rest. Now they're in this house and they're all safe. Now Musaa alayhi salam is back with his mom again. Fast forward. They're in the castle, problem solved, right? Fast forward. You ever seen Lion King when Simba is hanging out with Pumbaa? and Timon, and they're singing Hakuna Matata, and they're going on the bark of a tree, and in one scene they just grow up. They just grow up, right? In the middle of the song they just grow up, because they don't have time in the movie to take you through 15 years of him growing up. The Quran does this 1400 years ago, man. He's already a teenager in the next ayah. So cool. Lion King stole it from us. He's a teenager in the next ayah. Isn't that awesome? I mean, the stuff happened in the middle, but you need to get to the main part of the story. You know? So now, he's a young man. And Allah says, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ وَاسْتَوَى آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. When he reached a certain mature age, I have 2 minutes before I give you a break for Salat. By the way, here's how Salat is going to work. You're going to be given directions on where to go and pray, inshallah ta'ala. Are the sisters staying where they are, or are they going upstairs? Squeeze to the back and upstairs, inshallah. When Salat is done, I'll give you exactly 5 minutes for Sunnah prayer, and then I will start talking to myself. We have very little time together. So whatever, every minute I can spare, by the way, if you're still talking to each other and I'm talking, I don't care. I'll keep talking. I'm actually mostly talking to myself anyway. So it's fine. After you raise 6 children, then you learn to just talk to yourself. So you nobody listening anyway, right? So let me just tell the guys this. By the way, I want to give you a little bit of encouragement about what's coming, kind of a, after the commercial break, what's coming. We're going to talk about how to get married. Yeah. One guy just woke up.
I love to see it.
But before we do, by the way, because this is the only place in the Quran where we learn how a guy and a girl can get married. Yep. So we have to discuss that in some detail. The Muslim community kind of needs that guidance, doesn't it? Kind of need it. How many guys looking to get married or hoping to get married? Don't raise your hand if your mom's looking at you. So will my mom see this? He shakes his head and then raises his hand. So only a hand shows up. It's okay. So let me quickly say something about this ayah. So Musa alayhi salam reached teenage years. Balagha ashuddahu, simply said, he became a teenager. Wastawa, and he became tough like the bark of a tree, meaning he was ripped, he was tanked, he was jacked, he was really, really muscular. He's the kind of guy that if you accidentally run into in the hallway in high school, you wake up in the ER. That's Musa alayhi salam. He's big. And then, when a teenager is big, are they associated with smart things or dumb things? When a teenager is big, muscular, powerful, taller than everybody else in school, they're usually spending most of their time in the library, reading poetry, and quoting Shakespeare. No, they're usually picking fights, intimidating people, doing dumb things, because they think their strength can overcome every obstacle in life. But this teenager, who is young, by the way, he's also wealthy. Is he wealthy? Yep, so he's got money, he's got the nice ride, he's got the nice crib, he's strong, and then Allah says on top of that, on top of that we gave him wisdom. Teenager with wisdom? And on top of that I made him intelligent, knowledgeable, ilman. And on top of that, وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and that is